Welcome to the Call Center Crew podcast, where we educate, empower, and help you execute in the everyday grind that is contact center. We bring you the expertise and success from industry professionals around the world. Listen in or watch weekly every Wednesday at callcentercrew.com. Hey guys, Landon Rich here, Call Center Crew podcast. I'm excited today. We're going to be bringing you the lifeblood of what I've been, living the past 9 years, and super excited to have Cody Carter on the show with us today. We're going to be talking about the life of living overseas, or not overseas, offshore on the Philippines. Talking about outsourcing, BPO, all that great stuff. Before we jump into it, guys, I want to invite you to, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can also listen to the audio version on iTunes or the Google Play Store. You can find us at callcentercrew.com. Thanks for following, guys, and thanks for listening. So, Cody, thanks for coming on the show, man. You flew in when? 2 days ago?
Yeah, flew in Sunday afternoon.
Very nice. So let's start right there. Because most of the listeners, obviously, Philippines isn't. I mean, it's probably a well-destined spot for some vacationers, but the majority of people have never been there. So walk us through. Right now, we're in northern Utah. So walk us through, kind of step by step, what does it take to get to the Philippines? How many flights, how many hours? And mind you, right, for those listening, and we'll get into it, but Cody obviously has a son. He's been traveling back and forth to and from the Philippines for years now with his son, but we'll get more into that. So walk us through what it takes to get there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the travel is rough. It's so we start in Salt Lake City, and we usually fly Delta Airlines. So we'll go from Salt Lake City to Seattle, and then we'll take Seattle, and it's about a 9.5 hour flight to the Tokyo Narita Airport in Japan. And then from there, we'll fly another 4 hours down to Manila. We usually get into Manila around 11 p.m. So then we'll stay the night, and then from Manila, we'll fly an hour to where we live, Bacolod, the following day. So all in all, if you just look at the travel time from Salt Lake City to Manila, you're looking at about 22 hour travel time with layovers and everything else.
Gross. So 18 hours or so, if I'm not mistaken, of flying time, roughly.
About that, yeah, 17, 18 hours of flying time, yeah.
So, well, we appreciate you. Now, I would like to say that you flew all the way back here just to be on the show. I'd love to say that, but obviously the Christmas season coming up. But no, we appreciate you taking some time out and being here with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really
Thanks for having me.
So, Cody, introduce yourself, kind of how you got into the call center space. How'd you get to where you are right now? And then, more importantly, what are you doing right now? And give us a rundown of what you're doing right now.
Okay. How I got in the call center space, I don't think is really a super special story. I served an LDS mission, and I served in Colombia. So after my mission, I got back, and in the mission, we're used to being super busy all the time. And when I got back, I was a little late for the school semester. I didn't have any work lined up, so I was just feeling super lazy, Yeah. So I was looking around, and at the time there were a lot of Morgan folk coming and working in call centers, specifically Focus. So I came in and applied and started working as an agent here at Focus. The first campaign that I was on was Saveology. So Saveology at the time was a sales campaign, so we took home services, TV, internet, phone. Customers would call in, and it was our job to sell. So it was a good, for me, I really liked that campaign. It was a good campaign to start on. It was a very competitive, fast-paced campaign. We worked with a pretty aggressive client, you could say, one of those East Coast guys that pretty colorful language, liked good performance and hated bad performance. So it was a good experience to start out that way. And, from there, starting as an agent, just kind of worked my way up. From there, I went on to be a coach, and then from coach to the site lead position, where I kind of oversaw the floor operations as well as kind of the queue management. And then at one point, we kind of combined it with a couple different campaigns, and I was overseeing all of Saveology, so it was kind of a site lead / director position. So I worked in stateside focus for a little over 2 years at that point. And then that was when, they sat down and talked to us and told us about an opportunity that could happen out in the Philippines that, depending on a few circumstances, right, they might be looking for some new guys to run the show over there. And in April of 2013, we got the call and we ended up moving out to the Philippines, where I was the assistant site director. So yeah, just kind of helping run the show out there, mostly focused around operations at the time. Making sure we were up to par on performance, mm-hmm. clients were happy, we were doing well there. Helped a little bit on the shared services side with, finance and HR, but mostly focusing on operations. And then in September of 2015, I moved into the regional site director position. So as of right now, I'm overseeing the site that we run in the Philippines. Right now, we have about 450 employees total. Not all of them are operations-based. Obviously, we have a lot in shared services. We have, back office work and things that we do with virtual admins and things like that. But all in all, about 450 employees.
That's cool. That's great. So, little geography lesson here. So, Bacolod, we walked, so obviously Manila, the capital, you said an hour flight south of Manila, but then just for those listening and watching here, so where is that? If you're looking at a map, where's Bacolod compared to some of the other major cities or Manila on the map?
So Manila, if you look at the Philippines, it's just made up entirely of different islands, right? So Manila, if you're looking at it, would be in the top north island of the country. Bacolod is on an island called Negros Occidental. And so, yeah, it's about, if you go from Manila to Bacolod, you fly about 1 hour south. And the island is located almost right in the middle of the country. And so if some of the other big cities from the Philippines, Cebu, the island of Cebu is just northeast of where we're located. So again, about another 45, 50-minute flight to Cebu. So it's kind of right there in the middle of the country.
Awesome. And, a lot of people, going back to a lot of people, they've never traveled, the majority have never traveled outside the United States, right? Mm-hmm. But let alone to a what I would term a tropical or exotic, island. So talk to us about your living, right? So with a lot of people, when you say, "Oh, I live in an island," right? They either think of, first Gilligan's Island, right? Stranded on a beach, coconuts, like living in a hut,
right?
Or they think that you're, running a call center from a beach, looking at blue water and all this stuff. So walk us, what's your living like? What's the city you live in like? Your commute to work. Do you have a car over there? Like, walk us through your living for you, and again, maybe tell us a little bit about obviously your family, how you're set up, and things like that.
Yeah. So our living out there is, we have a pretty good setup. The company's done a pretty good job of taking care of us out there. So, it's interesting when you think about the Philippines and it's just entirely made of islands. Granted, Philippines has some of the nicest beaches in the world. Unfortunately, those aren't super close to home. We have to travel a couple hours to get to those. But, the city we live in is kind of a port, right? So a lot of ships coming in and out. So that's kind of the coastal outline, if you will, of where we live. But, we live in a tiny little subdivision just outside of the city, so just north of the actual city, Bacolod. And downtown Bacolod, it's just like any other city,
expect.
Right? Yeah, just pretty big city, lots of buildings, lots of restaurants, lots of call centers. The call center industry is really starting to take off in the city of Bacolod, and so there's a lot of good things about it. It took some adjusting, going from my wife and I, we met and we've lived in Utah basically our entire lives. So going from Utah to the Philippines was a massive adjustment for us. But, all in all, it's been a great experience. We do have a car out there, so we can, it's pretty easy for us to get around. one of the nice things is I work the night shift. So for me, I'm heading into work 11 p.m., midnight. And so it takes me about 10 minutes to get to work because there are no other cars on the road, and pretty easy overall for transportation. But
so explain that a little bit more, because I don't think people quite get it. So if you look back at some of the content I put out, callcentercrew.com, we reference a lot that the outsourcing and BPO world, especially in the Philippines, is huge,
right.
and the majority of that is they serve the United States days, right? Which, if you pull up your your little phone on your smartphone there, or your clock on your smartphone there, you pull up Manila, you'll see that when Cody says, when he's talking about night shift, it's about 15 hours ahead right now, right?
Right.
About 15 hours.
Yeah. So when I go into work, my Monday shift, if I'm matching my hours to, say, Utah Standard Time, I'll go in Monday night at, let's say, 11 p.m., and that will be 8 a.m. Monday here in Utah, Monday morning. So, and daylight savings, that changes it up a little bit. But, yeah, it's either about 14 to 15-hour difference, and it's ahead, right? So our Monday night into Tuesday is our Monday morning shift stateside.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I can imagine just the nightlife, right? It's basically hundreds of thousands of people, right? And maybe not in Bacolod specifically, but in Manila, hundreds of thousands of people working night shift. I mean, if you envision here in Utah or in any city during the day, it's basically
absolutely
basically the same thing.
You go, drive the streets here at 3 a.m. and it's a ghost town here in Utah. In Bacolod, because the call center industry is so strong and it's taken off and so many people are involved, you go to McDonald's at 3 a.m. in the morning, and it's just as busy as it is at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, because there's so many call center agents going around getting lunch, taking their breaks, right? Yeah. So, yeah, their lunch is 3 a.m., 4 a.m., so it's still just as busy around there.
Yep. Cool. So let's transition a little bit here. Let's talk about the actual work that you do at Focus Direct inside of the call center. Is it mainly inbound, outbound? What types of calls do you take? What types of campaigns? And kind of what does the daily operation look like?
So about 98% of our work is inbound work. We've kind of stepped away a little bit from the outbound. What we do as far as outbound is, if there are any issues that we see pop up with orders and things like that, we'll call the customer, but they're all, they're current customers. So most of the work that we do is inbound. We handle a lot of just plain, direct response, customer service. The majority of the work that we do right now, though, is in the continuity space. So we get a lot of clients coming to us that set up different trials, right? So you'll order a dietary supplement, facial cream, things like that, and you'll sign into a subscription where every month they'll send you that product and you'll just pay for that, right? And so they'll call in whether they have issues with the product. If they want to cancel, then it's our job to keep them on the subscription, maybe add a few more products, things like that. So that's about, as of right now, that's about 70% of the work that we do. But all in all, we handle, as of right now, about 18 to 20 different clients. Wow. So a lot of different work, but yeah, high 90% is just your inbound. Work. Yeah.
So one thing really quick I want to make sure our listeners are and most everybody listening are probably familiar with this, but the majority of call centers, when you talk about a call center versus a BPO, right? You say you have an internal call center. Typically that call center serves one customer, one client. They have 1,000 agents serving, let's just pull a name out of the hat, AT&T, right? AT&T customers call in. They get one center, 1,000 agents working for the same company, same call type, same everything, right? So what Cody's explaining with BPOs, obviously business process outsourcers, I mean, you're taking every kind of work. I mean, you guys heard 18 to 20 clients that they have to make sure that they maintain performance on, that they maintain communication on. That it's a different dynamic, being a call center versus being a BPO. And so it definitely adds added stress.
Right.
I mean, performance, things like that.
Well, I think that's part of the exciting part of running a center like this is that is the challenge, right? You have a lot of the work that's similar, but you have clients that are so different, and they each campaign might run different KPIs. So it's that challenge of maintaining the culture that you want to drive, the management style that you want to enforce, but at the same time kind of tweaking it and tailoring it to that specific campaign or that specific client, or pushing for this goal over here as opposed to this goal over here. And so that's kind of it is challenging, but I think that makes it a little bit more exciting, as each campaign has its own challenges and its own struggles, and you just kind of have to adapt. Yep. And it's and that's, to me, that's what makes it fun.
All right, I want to jump in next, Cody, with kind of how you're set up as a operational structure. So 18 to 20 clients, you're handling hundreds, if not thousands, of phone calls every day, mostly inbound, continuity. So walk us through how you, at the top, how you're structured, how you make sure that your shared services and your operations run smoothly, kind of the hierarchy, and then I want to talk about metrics, right? How do the actual operations and production on the calling floors, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Yeah, so our current setup is, like I mentioned before, I am in the regional site director position. So I just oversee everything and that's happening throughout the site, both on the shared services side as well as the operations side.
So when you say, just to clarify for the listeners, shared services? Shared
services is what we talk about when we look at finance, we look at HR, we look at IT, training and recruiting, everything, that supports and helps operations, right. We combine into the shared services. Yep. So, in the call center industry, I think you kind of have those two areas, right? Operations, which is the lifeblood of your company itself, right. And then, all the supporting factors that make sure operations run smoothly. So excellent. Yeah, shared services and operations. Next to me, my right-hand guy is my assistant site director. His name's John Andes. He came into the position the same time I came into the regional site director position. He mainly oversees all of operations. There are a few things he will help me with on the shared services side with finance and HR, but he is kind of the go-to guy when it comes to operations. So he'll oversee performance, client relationships, things like that. Next to John, we have our senior director of ops, and he's just kind of John's right-hand guy in managing the operations as a whole. And so aside from that, we have 7 different campaign managers, and each of them handle it depends on the size of that campaign. We have, for example, we have one campaign manager who handles a campaign of 600 plus hours a day, others around 200 to 300 hours a day.
Gotcha.
We've strategically set it up based on dedicated and shared campaigns, client needs, things like that.
Yep, that makes sense.
So we have about 7 different campaign managers that handle the 18 to 20 clients that we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
And then from there on, you just have your operational setup, right? Your process admins that kind of oversee your quality, your site leads that handle the queue and the staffing. Coaches and QAs over development and making sure that we drive good numbers for our clients and so on.
Yep. Cool. That makes sense. So getting into down to the supervisors and the campaign managers, what are some key processes? And again, I think everything that we talk about here on the Call Center Crew podcast, these are principles that they translate over into not only, like we talked about before, call centers versus BPOs versus inbound, outbound versus if you're dealing with healthcare calls or continuity calls or inbound sales calls, whatever it is, key principles that drive performance, that drive culture, drive values. So how do you and John maintain a high level of performance? What are some of the key principles that you guys do on a daily basis that ensure performance, that ensure culture, that ensure values?
So one thing that really helped me when I was in the coaching position, one thing that helped me be successful is just the culture that I tried to drive within my team, right? One thing that I felt that brought out the best performance in people is, one, getting to know the people that you're working with, knowing, what makes them run, what motivates them, what are they here for, right? And using that as a motivational tool to get higher performance, which can lead to promotions. It can lead to incentives and bonuses and things like that. So that's one thing that we've tried to really drive with our management is get to know your guys, get to know them personally, know what motivates them, and so we can use that to drive better performance. Some other things that that we try to do is, a lot of times you can, you see a lot of coaches and they can walk out on the calling floor and just kind of scream at their agents, hey, we need lower AHT, we need better sales, we need better this. But a lot of times they don't attack the behavioral issues, right? You can scream all day. Telling a sales guy to go get more sales is, telling a fat guy that he just needs to stop eating or something, right? It's you need to give them steps. You need to show them the correct behavior and able to get to that point. Right. So the trick is identifying what behavioral issues are keeping them from hitting the numbers that they need, and training them and developing them to change those behaviors so that they can go out and hit the better numbers. And so that's the kind of management style that has helped me be successful as I've gone through the call center world, and that's kind of the management style that we've tried to drive with our employees, so that rather than just going out on the floor and just being a cheerleader, hoorah, great job, awesome sale, they're out there teaching these guys how to get those sales. They're teaching these guys, if you missed a sale, how could we have made that sale, right? And so that's kind of the strategy we've tried to approach, and I think in a lot of ways it's gone really well. One of the other things that I'm really big on is just recognition in general. I think that's a huge key motivator. There have been a lot of studies to kind of back that up, that it's not always about money, it's not always about incentives and things like that. A lot of times it's just, hey, great job yesterday. Hey, awesome sale. I overheard your call. It sounded fantastic, right? And I think just that basic level of recognition and an employee knowing that they're doing a great job and their supervisors recognizing that, I think that goes a long way. Yeah,
I think that's a good point and a good transition here. I think that's I think a lot of times that's the one that goes by the wayside, right? Is when everything's performing well, right? Hey, it's easy peasy, but then and a lot of the recognition goes by the wayside, right? It's just, if things are performing, we're doing it as a team. It's easy to overlook, especially if you get on a trend, daily and weekly and monthly. Hey, we're hitting our goals every month. It's like, that's just the expectation. We quit recognizing, the excellent performance becomes the norm, and we stop recognizing, right? But then as soon as stuff hits the fan and the clients are on your back and everything like that, then it just switches, and you're cracking the whip, and people are getting in trouble, and then there's zero recognition anyways, and so it just always feels. I think that's a good thing to point out, not only in BPOs and call center, not only in the Philippines, but in general in the industry, right?
Right. Well, and I think that's human nature, right? I think human nature is to focus on the negative, and when things are going well, we kind of take it for granted, and I think that can kind of, like you said, leak into the professional world a little bit. But man, I think just, when an employee comes and they're about to start their day, and you as their supervisor goes up and throws them a high five, hey, great numbers yesterday, just that, and just immediately kind of changes their mentality for the day. Maybe they had a rough morning, maybe they have some personal issues they're dealing with at home, but man, if they come in and they see that they're being recognized, and they feel that like they're contributing to the overall success of the campaign, I think that just changes the mentality so much. And don't get me wrong, bonuses, incentives, all those things are great. But I think, when it comes down to it being recognized for the work that you're doing, I don't think anything can beat that.
Yep. Love it. One thing, and then I want to jump into we're going to shift gears and talk about best vacation spots in the Philippines and some of the other the travels that you've done. So one thing I want the listeners to recognize here, and those listening from the Philippines can attest from this, is the Philippines, the Filipinos take this call center work very seriously, right? Not so much here not to say that they don't take it seriously here in the United States or any other place in the world, but typically here in the United States, a call center job, it's entry level, it's bottom of the barrel, right? And I don't mean to offend anybody or any business that starts a call center to have a business, but that's unfortunately how I think the culture here in America has put it. Is it's a job that you can get. A lot of times people have referenced, if a person walks in and they're breathing, they're a call center agent. You can put them on the phones, right? Yeah. But walk us through, the Filipinos, man, they take this serious. It's a career for them. Walk me through, and the listeners through, what you've seen in terms of how they treat it, how they approach their position, how they approach their work, and just if you can elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think you said it right. I think just the overall culture in the call center industry in the Philippines is so different, right? I think, you mentioned it. I think a lot of times in the U.S., you get these guys coming in, they go to a call center maybe because they just need a job.
Yeah, they need money.
Right, they need money. They need something quick. You get a lot of attrition going through, a lot of turnover. So lots of companies are always looking for new agents to take calls, and that's not the culture in the Philippines. In the Philippines, the call center industry, a job at a call center, is a huge career opportunity. Yep. And these guys are in high school, these guys are going to universities, and they're studying to become a call center agent.
Yeah.
And so when you bring these guys in, they're not there for some quick checks. They're not there, to say, I'll take this, and then when something else comes up, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
These guys, they're in it for the long haul. They're in it for a career.
Mm-hmm. And it's, you said career, so the pay merits that, right?
Oh,
so
absolutely.
In terms of market here in the States, it's not minimum wage, but it's pretty close, right? Depending on the company you go to. But in the Philippines, I mean, it's a pretty good paying job. Right?
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of these guys, and just the way the Filipino culture is, a lot of these guys are providing not just for themselves, they're providing for spouses, children, parents that live with them as well. Sometimes brothers, sisters, aunts, and uncles. I mean, that's the Philippine culture. Mm-hmm. Families are very close. They live together like that. And so, yeah, it has to be. They have to find something that that they can provide. And, just to kind of give you an example of what we do at our site. So, yeah, I mean, our pay is pretty par with the overall BPO industry. Mm-hmm. But then on top of that, we do a lot of other things. So we provide health care for our employee and other dependents. Rice, for those of you that don't know much about the Filipino culture, they eat rice for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and everything in between. So we provide, once our employee hits their 6-month mark, we give them a 50-kilo sack of rice every other month.
That's over 100 pounds.
Over 100,
for those of you in America who.
Yeah, it's well, for us that seems like a lot. For them, that's gone in 2 weeks, right? So,
yep. So that's every paycheck or every month?
Every other month.
Every other
when
month.
They hit their 6-month mark, when they hit their 5-year mark, then we give it to them every month.
Every month.
So
That's great.
We do a lot of those things, and it's not only helping the employee out, it's providing for the rest of their family that they have at home.
Yep.
Right. So that's one of the things that I really enjoy about working in the call center industry in the Philippines in particular. Right. I've worked in Utah. I've worked in the Philippines, and in my opinion, right, and again, not to badmouth anything, in the call center statesides, but you just get a better quality employee. You have somebody that takes their job very, very serious. Mm-hmm. They're not looking for the next thing, that the bigger paycheck, the whatever. They're there for the long haul. They're looking for a career. They're looking to outperform so that they can be promoted and move into these higher positions. And so, you see lower attrition rates because employees want to stay. Employees want to be at call centers.
Yep.
And I think, that's why you're also seeing a lot of people outsource their work, because not only is it cheaper, right? You pay a lot lower price for outsourcing your work, but in my opinion, just with the experience I've had and the people I've worked with, you get people who take the job very serious.
Yep.
They're constantly fighting for their job. They're constantly wanting to perform so that they can keep that job. And so I think that's the huge difference between the industry here in the States and the industry here, in the Philippines, is, it is a career for these guys.
Yep.
It's a huge opportunity, and they do everything they can to take advantage of it.
Love it. So a little plug here for outsourcing. If you need to outsource your call center work, Philippines, it's the place to go.
Well, and you see, India used to be the big country to outsource to, right?
It was the first.
India was
Yep.
huge. I mean, it's still a huge industry in India, but you're seeing a lot of work being moved from India to the Philippines because you get the same price, right? But then you get an employee that has, way better communication skills in English. They don't have a super heavy accent, and like I said, they're studying for these things in high school and college. I mean,
Right.
they're studying to be a call center agent, and so when you call in, you're getting a great rep who can communicate really well in English, and you're getting it for the same price, right? So I think that's why you're seeing a lot of these guys move some of this work that they have from India to the Philippines. I think, worldwide, I don't have the statistics or anything, but I think Philippines is easily one of the fastest growing countries as far as the BPO industry goes.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Excellent. Well, we're going to kind of shift gears here. Cody, I appreciate you sharing that on the business side. So, walk us through what are some of the, if any of our listeners were to travel over to the Philippines, what are the top 3 spots you have to go if you go into the Philippines? Put you on the spot here.
Yeah. We've traveled a lot. We've had, we'll hit our 5-year mark this upcoming April. So in those 5 years, we've been able to do a lot of traveling that we wouldn't have otherwise been able to do here in Utah. So if you're looking at the Philippines, I would say probably the number 1 tourist spot would be Boracay. It's just, there's so many things to do. It's just a massive island. I think every year it shows up on the top 10 nicest beaches in the world. And there's a little bit of everything. If you've got your family there, there's a ton of stuff to do with your kids, with your spouse, lots of stuff to do. If you're there by yourself, the nightlife is ridiculous. Lots of parties and things going on. So really nice beach, lots of really cool stuff to do. So Boracay, I would always recommend. If you're into diving, which a lot of people go to the Philippines to do because it's some of the best in the world, there's a city about 3 hours south from where we live. The city is called Sipalay, and they have a stretch of beach that they call Sugar Beach because it's super nice white sandy beaches, and in that area, it's some of the nicest diving you can imagine.
Awesome.
So me and my wife, we are not certified divers, unfortunately, so we haven't been able to take advantage, but we have done a lot of snorkeling out there.
Awesome.
and it's pretty amazing. But it is on our list of things to do, get certified, and go take advantage of that. Aside from that, there's the cool thing about the Philippines is as you go from island to island, it can be very, very different. So it's not the same on everything. So you might go to one place and it's kind of a mountainous area where you can hike and climb and go to some waterfalls, and then there's always the nice beaches that you can enjoy afterwards. So, as far as countryside, if you love being outdoors, if you love kind of the tropical beach setting, I mean, the Philippines is beautiful. I think people think of the Philippines and think, man, third world country, clear out there, Southeast Asia. But man, it has some of the nicest places that we've ever been able to see.
That's great.
One of the other things that we've been able to take advantage of is it's right there in the middle of Southeast Asia. So for about $200 round trip flight. We've been able to go to Thailand on multiple occasions. We went to Cambodia recently, Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan. So we've been able to travel to a lot of these different areas and for fairly cheap, right? We follow all the different airlines on social media. They're constantly coming out with different promotions. And so, my wife and I, we love to travel. We love to experience new cultures, new food, things like that. And it's been, aside from just the professional opportunity and running a center in the Philippines, it gives us a huge advantage to travel and see other parts of the world that we would never get a chance to see.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, next destination spot for you guys listening should be the Philippines.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Hit it up. Cody, if people want to find you, if listening to this episode, they're saying, hey, I need to outsource my work, where can they get a hold of you to find out more on how to outsource and how to become a client of Focus Direct?
So to get a hold of me, I think the best way would be through LinkedIn. So it's just Cody Carter on LinkedIn. One thing that I would recommend people do is go check out our Facebook page for our site that we run in the Philippines. The Facebook page is Focus Direct Inc. in Bacolod. We post a lot of the different activities that we do on that page, as well as some of the charity work that we do every month. So if you want to get a better look at, just kind of the daily life of the call center agents there, what we do and what we try to provide for the community as well, go check it out. There's a lot of really great stuff there. But yeah, if you want to reach out to me, I think LinkedIn would probably be the best place for that.
Excellent. Guys, again, Cody, thank you for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. And for the listeners, two things I want to remind you of. Number one is in January, we're launching our online communities, right? We're calling it the Online Cruise for agents and supervisors specifically. So what it is, it's an online community where any agent around the world can join in with myself and all other agents and or all other supervisors, depending on the group, where we can collaborate together, ask questions. They have direct access to myself to help answer any difficult questions, things like that. Basically, a safe environment where you can get to network, get to know everybody from around the world, share best practices, and help kind of fulfill the motto of what Call Center Crew brings is basically help people be enabled, be empowered, and then help overcome any challenge that they may have in their daily life as a call center employee. So that's one. And then the other one is just please share, like us on the social sites, give us a 5-star review. Really appreciate it. Helping get the word out into the industry. You can find us at callcentercrew.com as well as on YouTube. So thanks for listening, guys. Thanks, Cody. Really appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me.